For the ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now. And the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and repair pros trust Grainger, because we have professional-grade supplies for every industry, even hard-to-find products. And we have same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders. But most importantly, we have an unwavering commitment to help keep you up and running. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is VSiN By The Books on VSiN, the sports betting network.
We are back to begin hour number 3 of VSiN By The Books. I'm Dave Ross here at Circus Sports Fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada. Our closer, Jensen Lewis, back home in Cleveland, Ohio. Interesting here, Jensen, because the rounds are underway at the PGA Championship. Scottie Scheffler has drifted to plus 650. Now, again, we're trying to get eyes on this thing because we know those guys are out there. Rory is the betting favorite now, plus 450. Bryson is not teed off. Bryson DeChambeau is the third betting choice at 9-1. You know what my rule is on world number 1, Scottie Scheffler. And I didn't think this early on a Thursday that he'd be starting to teeter in that 10-1 range. But my rule of thumb is, if you ever get Scottie at some point at double digits, just bet it. Just bet it and then have that in pocket. You're going to feel much better about it come Sunday afternoon. So I don't know if there's anything that you've seen yet on Scottie as they are underway here in that ultra powerful pairing of 1, 2, and 3 in the world. Scottie, Rory, and Xander Schauffele, who's the reigning defending. Xander, by the way, is 14-1. And that's moving up because remember, he was about 20, 22-1 in the marketplace. So, and now up to 12-1. So clearly some things are happening out there at Quail Hollow here early on a Thursday.
Yeah, I'm just taking a look because we are always interested in that first round leader, those betting odds. I did take a look and see John Rahm out to a nice start here, 1 under through 2. Matt Fitzpatrick also 1 under. Rasmus Højgaard, if you're looking for a massive flyer, he was in triple digits. He's all the way down to 45-1. Rombo at 22-1. And then Xander Schauffele right now 14-1. So we'll keep an eye on it here, but we know our main group getting underway and anxious to watch them here in about an hour's.
And here's why we have the news for the subtle changes. For us, we don't get this in our show. Obviously, with Gil Alexander coming up with the numbers game and money moves and et cetera, they're going to be updating this as the day goes on. Scottie parred the first hole, but Xander birdied 1. So Xander, that's why you see the cut up to 12-1. Remember, it was as 22-1. And so Xander is off on the good foot in that power threesome that we're seeing there. So we'll keep an eye there early on as these rounds just starting to take shape. One guy that I think a lot of people liked coming in off his win last week, off to a terrible start, Sepp Straka. Big Sepp has he's 2 over already through 4 holes. So Sepp off to a slow start after winning last week at an elevated event. Let's get to it in hour number 3, and we'll ask the question, is this news or a whole lot of noise?
Is it news?
Corleone is a man who insists on hearing bad news immediately.
Or just noise?
Are you going to act like this is news? Just noise. This is noise.
Let's separate the impactful from the insignificant with one simple question. News or noise?
There's been a lot of talk about NIL, college football, college basketball, college sports in general, in that we don't know exactly how to change the system. The system's changed forever with NIL. But that you've heard a lot of people say, hey, if this is the change, this isn't the correct change. So we need another change, another one to make this a little bit more palpable. Charles Barkley, of course, who went to Auburn, he said this about NIL, and I quote, "I've given more money to Auburn, legal or illegal, than any athlete in the history of the school. And the notion that I'm going to come up with a couple $1 million every year so that we can be good at basketball and football, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard." Arumph. What do you make of Chuck, and is that news or noise?
Yeah, it is news. And again, Chuck, a big fan of our show because he's echoing the sentiments that we've put out there as well, that where are the guardrails? And a Lewis Ross administration, that's a day one executive order for us. is to limit the amount of times that you can enter the transfer portal to 1. And you also would have a cap on what you can spend. Now, there's going to be loopholes and everything that people try and exploit. But let me give you an idea on the NIL. And by the way, Auburn 30-1 to win it all. Bruce Pearl's squad right now on the futures board for the NCAA tournament next year. BYU is 16-1. And I bring them up because they are tied with the defending champs in Florida at 16-1. The reason why BYU is that low is because they have more money than anyone, almost more money than God, ironically, in their coffers to spend for their collective. And they're going to, it's free agency. It's open season. This is what it's become. And that's football. That's basketball. It's not as prevalent maybe in some of the other sports in the spring. But Dave, this has to get corralled quickly here. And I don't think Sir Charles is far off on it, because you're going to have people that just say, what do you think of an ATM? And some of these people are, some of these donors are. But I'm glad that someone of his stature has come out and said it, because I think it will have a ripple effect.
And imagine that Charles is admitting, I've given more to the school, legal and illegal, through the years, right? Now it's all legal. Yeah. That's the only difference.
Yeah.
So Charles, I don't think has any qualms about saying that back in the day, pre-NIL, maybe we were bending the rules. We've all known that that's been in existence. So I don't think he's saying anything that's should be shocking to people out there. Oh my goodness, Charles was giving money illegally to Auburn. I think there's a lot of boosters, if they're being honest, that were doing the same thing. So I think that part of the NIL is a good thing, that it takes care of the illegalities of giving monies to your program. But I do think his bigger picture and bigger point is yours as well. This is not the end all. What NIL is now is not what it should look like in 2-3 years. What does it look like? I don't think anybody exactly knows. But to Charles's point and your point, Jensen, it can't look the way that it's looked the last couple of years. And I'm not saying it's driving coaches out like a Coach K at Duke or Nick Saban at Alabama. But I think those guys have alluded to it, that they don't really care to do what this new frontier looks like. Like, is that also, do you think, maybe a factor in some of these older coaches that say, I just don't want to be in the Wild Wild West. This is not what I signed up for.
Yeah, well, I mean, just think about just how we would bet college football futures now, in how it'll affect win totals and things of that nature. We're going to get to an expanded postseason, which means more money, which means more for the schools and also what they can do for that. But I asked a couple of coaches my last couple of weeks for college baseball, and I said, how much of your time daily now is spent actually coaching the game that you were hired to do versus phone calls for NFL? Dave, the number was staggering to me, that and our good friend Michael Lombardi now is getting a front row seat to it as the GM there for the North Carolina football program. Coaches are spending maybe 20% of their time coaching. Holy hell, Dave, what are we doing? I mean, you're glorified GM at this point now as a head coach. That's
why, to see what Michael is doing there with Bill Belichick, it's going to be wild to see this year and what it translates to on the field, because it's a brand new day and age, and to see that pairing go back to college football now under this system, the NIL system. It's going to be a fascinating case study to see how it looks in year number one. By the way, we got the Preakness coming up on Saturday. If you want to bet the ponies, you can do so. Our friends over at First Bet, they're going to help you and reward you for doing just that. So new customers can use the promo code VSiN200. They're going to score a 20% rebate on all wagers for the first 60 days up to $200. That's win or lose. You're going to get that money paid back. So download the First Bet app today or visit firstbet.com. Use the promo code VSiN200 and enter in that promo code VSiN200 to get that cash back, win or lose, when you sign up today for the Preakness coming up on Saturday. We're going to have Rachel Doerrie join us here later on this hour to talk NHL. So I did want to get back very quickly to the NBA, because we do have some games, a big game tonight, potentially for Denver. And we talked about this here. Their 4.5-point underdogs was 5, down to 4.5. Total has come down now to 216.5. Tomorrow, we're going to have the Celtics and the Knicks, with the Celtics trying to force a Game 7 back in Beantown. For those two teams, Jensen, which team do you think has the better chance to force a Game 7? Obviously, the odds, ironically, would tell you it's Boston as the shorter dog at 2.5 tomorrow night versus Denver getting 4.5 tonight against OKC.
Yeah, I do feel just because of the nature of the beast, it would be Denver from a talent standpoint.
I agree.
But from a reckless abandon and a, oh boy, we've seen this movie before standpoint, the Knicks are no, kind of guarantee at home to be able to get this done. I mean, I think our angle here, if you're Celtics backer, and even if you're a Nuggets backer, is that first quarter spread and maybe the first half as well. They got to be in the fight early. They got to be able to kind of, land that first big punch and then, see where the Knicks and the Thunder respectively end up from, return fire. So I would lean more on the Nuggets at the moment, but I'm not going to discount the Celtics any shape or form.
And neither am I. And I think it's a good point. If you look to the last two games, it does feel like the Nuggets get worn down in the fourth quarter, right? So they've had these pretty big leads, sizable leads in the fourth quarter, have not been able to wrap up either one of those two games, or else it would be OKC on the brink of elimination tonight. Instead, it's Denver at home trying to save their season. So maybe that first quarter, first half play is not a bad look here for Denver because they're getting off to decent starts. It's really they're not being able to close, which is ironic because all of the narrative coming in was, how will OKC, will they be able to close out the Nuggets who have been there, done that, won a championship just 2 years ago? Instead, it's OKC closing out Denver and Denver not being able to finalize these games with those tired legs. And again, tomorrow night, it's 2.5, and that total right now at Madison Square Garden is a low one at 209 right now tomorrow night at MSG. When we come back, the big three, they're underway at the PGA. We'll give you some live odds and also give you our cards that we have on there and some changing numbers right now as the first round's starting to take form down there at the second major of the year. That's next here on VSiN By The Books.
For the ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now. And the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and repair pros trust Grainger, because we have professional-grade supplies for every industry, even hard-to-find products. And we have same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders. But most importantly, we have an unwavering commitment to help keep you up and running. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
You're tuned in to VSiN By The Books, right here on VSiN.
We are back. VSiN By The Books. Dave Ross and Jensen Lewis here. We're going to have Rachel Doerrie join us in the next segment, North of the Border. Wellness check on everybody in Toronto today after the thrashing they took at the hands of the Florida Panthers last night, as they are now on the brink of elimination again in Toronto. We'll catch up with Rachel, talk all things Stanley Cup. But right now, and look, it was great having Mike Palm in studio. We love having Mike here each and every Thursday at Circa. And this is our place of business here for us in Las Vegas. We absolutely love being here. But as Kelly Bidlin just said, he just came in as we get ready for a numbers game after us with Gil Alexander. Like, do we riot at some point that Circa does not have the world number 1, 2, and 3? Do we do a formal strike? Like, how do we do this to make sure we get these TVs? We got people here waiting to watch the golf, Jensen. This is golf, people. Go back to your shanties.
Yeah, well, let's get on it. I got to believe Kelly Bidlin antsy in studio, not being able to see things.
We're going crazy.
So, hey, this is give the people what they want, and can't wait to see how this plays out in round one.
And in all seriousness, we saw that Scotty had drifted to plus 650. He did make a bogey. Started off in the back 9, so that's a par 5 to begin. Parred that. That's where Xander made birdie. He bogeyed 11. And I looked at the live odds, and I saw that he was plus 450 as a betting favorite. And I said, well, why is that? Well, he just birdied 12. So Scotty has gotten that right back. We mentioned Rory had an early birdie. He gave that back. So Rory is also at even par. Xander is still under par. I'd mentioned that Big Sepp Straka is going to be on the European team. I can't imagine anyway he doesn't find himself there at Bethpage Black for Team Euro. I mentioned he had 2 early bogeys on his card. He holed out on 14. You don't see that every day. So on a par 4, you get a little circle, double circle there with an eagle on 14. So Sepp vaults himself right back into even par. Denny McCarthy, I didn't bet little Denny this week. He's off to a good start, 1 under par through that very first hole. So interesting to see some of these names start to take some sort of form. Ryan Fox from New Zealand is still the favorite right now, the leader right now at 3 under par through 8. I mentioned Luke Donald, the captain of Team Europe. He's at 2 under par with another European player, Alex Noren from Sweden. He's at 2 under par. And oh my goodness, don't tell me this is going to be the week. British Jesus, Tommy Fleetwood, is 2 under through 5. I mean, come on. I can't do it, Jensen. I'm not going to. I did not play Tommy Fleetwood, but here he is, just 1 off the lead through 5 holes. Any early takeaways? I know it's hard for us because we're doing the show, so it's hard to really gauge how the course is playing. But by all accounts, by the numbers at least, Jensen, it feels semi-gettable early on here at Quail Hollow.
I was thinking of Tommy Fleetwood's kid who did the interview at the Masters. Just went out and did my best, all the work that I put in. I did play Fleetwood top 10 at plus 350, so a lot of golf to go. But I mentioned earlier in the week, and for people that play daily fantasy, I usually like to do it during the majors. Mm-hmm. And I had a couple of lineups that I wanted to feature here, Dave, and many of the golfers that we've talked about, whether it be placement to spots or outrights. The first one is probably my favorite lineup, and we're off to a good start. I had Colin Morikawa and Jordan Spieth, and I know that the cup maker, Jeff Seeley, big friend of our program, was very, very high on Spieth being a leverage play, not only in daily fantasy, but maybe against the field, knowing how popular Rory would be. And some of the other top dogs there, especially with Bryson too. So Morikawa, I kind of flew under the radar. I liked him. Course horse, a guy that can bomb it out there. Spieth, same way. Jason Day, already 1 under, I believe through 4 or 5 holes, is in a good spot. Bobby Mack, kind of that value selection down there that hopefully, again, just trying to get 6 guys through for the cut. But did take a page out of your book with Lil Denny and also Thomas Dietrich. Yeah. Because he could bomb it out there with the best of them. And so felt that was a bit more well-rounded and probably a bit more top-heavy. That bottom one for people watching in the VSiN Watch at VSiN.com, I'll just read it out for our listeners. Russell Henley at 8,900. Min-Woo Lee, who I think is one of those dark horse guys to win this week at 8,600. Corey Connors, as we know, a great market for low Canadian. Here for the major, 8,300. Sung J M, who has not gotten a lot of run, but at that price at 8,200, I couldn't pass on him. You mentioned Sepp. Nice to see a little bounce back at 8,000. And then Danny Berger, you and I said at the beginning of the week, how was he at 100-1? But we'll take it, and a very affordable price in the DFS market, 7,900. So my strategy, Dave, was I wanted one lineup that would have a couple of top dogs and then kind of fill it in from there. And then maybe run the middle, the value options to try and gain a little leverage for guys that wanted to spend up for some of those big-time guys. I
like that card a lot. I'm right there with Dietrich, who's off to a good start, by the way. Thomas Dietrich is through 5 holes, even par. He's playing it looks like, again, it's hard for me to gauge the tougher side here, but you should, if you're watching this, to try to gauge that for in play. If you're getting in live to know what they've got coming up. Remember, you're going off split tees here. You got half the groups going off on 10, half the groups going off on 1. Dietrich went off on 1, has not played a par 5 yet, so 5 pars through his beginning of his round. Now, Brooks Koepka, somebody else that I have played this week at 50-1. Boy, you hate to see a 6 on the scorecard. Brooksy started off on the quote-unquote easier side, at least with a par 5 to begin on 10, and he makes a bogey there on the first hole of his day, but he's bounced back with a birdie on 14, so he's back to level par, playing the second par 5. Remember, this is a par 71 course, so there are 2 par 5s on the back 9, only 1 par 5 on the front 9. So technically, with the 2 par 5s, which you think the bigger hitters, that's where they're going to really make their hay this week. If you're looking at live betting at least first round lead, and you can do that at some books here, I would be looking for players that have not played that back yet if you're looking at anybody early in the round. And remember, Scotty, Rory, and Xander going off on 10. So if they don't get off to this great start, I'll be very curious to see how they come in if the front side looks like, at least on paper from what I'm seeing, playing a little bit harder right now than the back nine. Some other names of note, we mentioned that Jon Rahm is 1 under. He did get off on that backside there. So again, the quote-unquote easier of it, but he did par the par 5. He made birdie on the par 4 11th hole there. And again, we mentioned Fleetwood and Noren and Luke Donald and Fox. You got a lot of European players and a lot of foreign players here with the New Zealander. Not a lot of American players. The best American player right now, early on, is Max Grazerman, who's at 2 under through 2. And I believe, Jensen, this is a player you've got in pocket.
Again, Jeff Seeley talked about him throughout the week. I know he was on Follow the Money with Mitch and Paulie, talking about a guy that perhaps you could leverage and ladder from a finishing position all the way up to an outright. He's an easy triple-digit guy. Right now, you mentioned him tied for second at 2 under, but in that first-round leader market, he's at 40-1. In case you wanted a dart throw there. Tommy Fleetwood, we talked about, is now up to 14-1, just behind Xander at 12-1 in the first round market. Ryan Fox, who is still pacing the field, 16-1 at 3 under. So again, this is going to be a real fascinating part. Not only today, you mentioned how the course is playing, but then also tomorrow when you get the flip and the start time flip too, for where the conditions may be. So it sounds like conditions should be no issue. But we'll see who gets it early and is a course horse to start.
I want you guys to hear from Rory McIlroy. If you did not get to hear this, remember, he had his press conference yesterday. Normally he does it the day before, but because of all the rains they had, they backed it up to Wednesday. So it's one of the first times we've gotten to hear from Rory since winning at Augusta just a few weeks ago here to begin the major season. And remember, for those that have forgotten, he and Bryson DeChambeau were paired together, obviously, in the final grouping on Sunday. And there was a question that was asked of Bryson about how much interaction did you have with Rory, and he said none. He didn't talk to me. That's it. That was the whole extent of it. It's kind of gotten into this he said thing. Rory was asked about it yesterday, Jensen. Here was that Q&A.
Bryson said after the final round at the Masters that you barely spoke to him because you were so locked in. Just wondered your perspective on that and if you've had a chance to speak to him since that Sunday.
I don't know what he was expecting. We're trying to win the Masters. I'm not going to try to be his best mate out there. Everyone approaches the game different ways. I was focused on myself and what I needed to do. And that's really all that it was. It wasn't anything against him or against it. Just I felt that's what I needed to do to try to get the best out of myself that day.
One other thing that was interesting in the press conference yesterday, he was asked, would he change any part of his game for any player that's putter, and he said, no. I'm basically me. I'm the best player in the there's something with Rory now. Maybe that's unencumbered now that you're a major. You've won all 4 majors, only the 6th guy in the history of the game to do it. Jensen, do you sense anything there? Dude, I'm me, and I don't care what Bryson's thinking. I don't think Bryson made anything of it. I think more's been made of it. But it does seem like Rory kind of fired back. What did he expect? What do you take from that?
I would take every part of Tiger Woods on a Sunday, period. That's what I take.
Tunnel vision. That's what some of these guys had. We know Tiger had it. He didn't like to talk to you either. Much more to get to. Rachel Doerrie is going to join us next year. We're going to talk all things Stanley Cup playoffs. That is next year at VSiN By The Books.
You're tuned in to VSiN By The Books, right here on VSiN.
We are back, VSiN By The Books, on this Thursday edition of Dave Ross and Jensen Lewis here with you. Always love catching up with Rachel Doerrie north of the border. You can follow Rachel as we do at Rachel Doerrie. She joins us now here on the Progressive Guest Line and does a great job at CTO of Betalytics. And Rachel, I don't want this to be a sad conversation today here on a Thursday, but I know with what happened last night north of the border, it's not so much losing Game 5 to Florida. It's the manner in which they lost it 6-1, and it was 6-0. You get the cosmetic goal late. I don't think that really matters. Can you just give us the tone and tenor today north of the border?
It's not good. There is a certain radio show every day in Toronto that has a former Toronto Maple Leaf on it. And it is like going to be appointment viewing for me today because people are pissed. And it's not just that you lost game 5. You know what? If it's a tight game, similar to kind of, I get the disappointment with game 3 because you're up 3-1 in the third period. And that is an opportunity to go up 3-0 against the Floridas. You let them off the mat. Game 4, that's a loss, but you played pretty well. You were in that game. Like, that was a tight game. Last night was like, that honestly might have been the worst playoff performance of the decade for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Number one, you charge $1,500 a ticket, and that is the performance that you put on. It outside of Matthew Nyes and William Nylander and Joe Wall, like, they just didn't show up last night. And that is unacceptable in round 2 of the Stanley Cup playoffs to have a no-show like that. And they got smacked up and down the ice. And honestly, the way I would describe it is not appropriate for television because of how bad it was. So I just look at this and I go, you let Florida up off the mat in game 3, and now you're paying the price because now you don't have an answer and you've gone completely away from your game. And to have that kind of performance in front of your fans is unacceptable. And a spinorama backhand pass to the middle of the ice and then losing your guy on the back door to go down 3-0. That should be like a prison offense. And so it's kind of one of those things where there's so many fans that are just kind of done with this iteration of the Toronto Maple Leafs as it pertains to the star players because it's just not good enough every single year.
Yeah, the Panthers gargantuan favorites at home tomorrow, minus 245 on the money line and 5.5 the total there. Chance for the Panthers to wrap it up. We have seen some evolution through a couple of teams throughout this postseason. Rachel, I don't know if we have seen the transformation from what Stuart Skinner is in games 1 through 3 for Edmonton. And then as soon as the series gets to game 4, I saw people saying he is now the modern day replica of Dominik Hasek. And what a performance. I was on the under 6.5 yesterday. I didn't think it would be scoreless the way it would go, but Edmonton gets the winner in overtime. They eliminate VGK. Just wrap up this series in your mind, because we gave out Edmonton when they were down 2 games in that first round and said if you wanted to jump on a team with long odds, that would be the club to do it. Here we are again, Edmonton in the conference final, but the form that they're in right now, Rachel, what stands out most to you?
They're terrifying. Like, that is the easiest way to put it. Stuart Skinner is the core 4 of the Toronto Maple Leafs, because the core 4 in Toronto they look like world beaters in games 1 to 3, and then we get to game 5, 6, and 7, and you could not find them on a milk carton. They are so disappearing. And then you got Stuart Skinner, who is unplayable in the first 3 games of any series, but then you put him in game 4 onwards, like you said, the guy looks like Hasek. So I don't know, maybe play Calvin Pickard in the first 3 games. I'm not even really sure how you handle that, how you handicap that, other than to say, okay, I'm taking the over in games 1 to 3. Although I will say, if Stuart Skinner plays like he does in games 1 to 3 against Dallas, the Oilers are going to be down 3-0 because Jake Ottinger is not Aiden Hill. And so, I mean, they can't afford to be playing those kind of games, but I mean, they're getting depth scoring, and that's the thing. Kasperi Kapanen, Corey Perry, Evander Kane, guys not named McDavid, Draisaitl, and Bouchard are putting the puck in the net. And, it's about time, right? It's been years where we've said the depth of this team is what is killing them, and right now, it's what's helping them. And so, full credit to the depth of the Oilers. Jeff Skinner hasn't even really got a chance yet, and I think he could be super impactful if he comes in. I think he's probably going to have to play against Dallas, given the style that Dallas plays. I'm assuming Dallas beats Winnipeg one of these next 3 games. But I look at the Oilers and they look pretty good. Good enough to beat Dallas? I don't know. But once again, like I don't know how you could bet against McDavid and Draisaitl. It's pretty difficult to do.
For us long-suffering Buffalo Sabre fans, we missed the Dominator, and Brett Hull was in the crease. We were just going to say that. He was still in there. He was in the crease. That should not have counted. I do have to ask Rachel about the Capitals, because in D.C., they are the longest of long shots now, down 3-1, 50-1 to win the Stanley Cup. It feels like it's all but a foregone conclusion. They're not going to be able to win this series against Carolina. But if you can win tonight, if the Great Eight can keep this thing going here, do they have any life left in D.C., or does it end tonight? As you see, Carolina is a big road ice favorite.
Yeah, I do think it ends tonight. I hate saying this about teams, especially when they finished first in the division and first in the conference, but I've kind of felt like Washington's a house of cards all year. And we've been talking about it on the podcast and talking about it on various radio stations. They kind of feel like a house of cards. Like, they had a bunch of guys have career years with elevated shooting percentages. They had a goaltender who's never been in the Vezina conversation, probably is going to play second in the Vezina voting this year. Like, everything went right in the regular season for the Caps. And I just didn't think that when the chips were down that luck was going to continue. And the Carolina Hurricanes have kind of showed that. Now, I will say this. I'm 99% sure it's going to be Florida, but on the off chance the Toronto Maple Leafs surprise the entire world and beat Florida twice, whoever wins that series, I think beats Carolina. Like, I think Carolina gets through Washington, and because of their play style. But once again, I think Carolina loses because of their play style. So they're going to win this series because of their play style. But against a team like Florida or a team like Toronto, that shot volume, sort of hold the puck and not really generate high scoring opportunities is not going to work. And so I do think Carolina gets through Washington just because it's kind of the matchup for them. I don't see any scenario where they're getting through Florida. Maybe they get through Toronto, but to me, this kind of looks like Florida's going to the Cup final, and that's just going to be that. And in the same way that Carolina went through Washington like a hot knife through butter, I think Florida's going to go through them like a hot knife through butter. I will point out, though, my favorite bet of the day is Nick Dowd, 3+ blocks. He's had 3+ blocks in 4 games, like in the 4 games in this series, and is paying plus 370 right now on some books. That shouldn't be the case.
I absolutely love that angle. And it has been remarkable to see how many block shots, period, in that series that has transpired up to this point. Another elimination potential north of the border there in Winnipeg tonight. The Stars, an opportunity to close out the Jets. However, this has been as black and white as it gets. Connor Hellebuyck on the road, absolute sieve. Connor Hellebuyck at home, brick wall. I'm actually backing the Jets tonight, Rachel, to get it done and by multiple goals. And I think this thing comes back to Dallas. But what do you make of how Connor Hellebuyck has been so different home and road?
You can't trust him. Like, you literally cannot trust him. And I mean, I guess it's a good thing that Winnipeg has home ice throughout the playoffs with the President's Trophy win. But the reality is they're going to win this series. They got to win in Dallas, and Dallas is pretty good at home. And like you pointed out, Connor Hellebuyck is Stuart Skinner level unplayable on the road. So it's wild. I almost think, so in Winnipeg, they do this thing called the whiteout. I almost think that there's a depth perception issue with Connor Hellebuyck when he goes and plays on the road because they don't have that whiteout. It is literally the only thing that I have looked into, be it at school when I was doing my master's and just generally when I was studying goaltenders, that I think could be the impact factor here. But other than that, there's no excuse. Like, Winnipeg, do they play as well in front of him? No. Do they play Civ level in front of him? Absolutely not. There's no way he should have the yips that he has on the road. I think it's going to be a close game tonight. I think Ottinger is kind of the play here. I would take his over saves. Winnipeg is going to be absolutely desperate to extend this series, and they're just going to be pounding the net with shots. So I would take Ottinger's saves here. I'd take Kyle Connor for 3+, probably Gabe Vilardi for 3+. But in the end, I don't see any other way where Dallas doesn't win this series. They might win tonight. I think it's going to be a tough one, though. So I would look at this and I would say, Yeah, okay, I can get behind them at minus 117 tonight. If it gets anywhere above 125, I am totally out on that.
Winnipeg, the second longest of the shots, 40-1 to still hoist the cup. Rachel, we appreciate it. Keep the spirits up there north of the border in Toronto as best you can.
I'm going to try.
We are back with our best bets. That's next year, VSiN By The Books.
If you work in quality control at a candy factory, you know strict safety regulations come with the job. It's why you partner with Grainger. Grainger helps you find the high-quality and compliant products your business needs to inspect, detect, and help correct issues. And the sweetest part is, everyone gets a product that's as safe to eat as it is delicious. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
You're tuned in to VSiN By The Books, right here on VSiN.
We are back. VSiN By The Books. Great conversation in the last segment with Rachel Doerrie. I do feel bad for the Toronto faithful north of the border. We talked about it leading up to the Stanley Cup playoffs. It's just, it feels like it's more misery. You know, you felt like maybe once you got out of that first round and then they go up 2-0 on road ice, and you're thinking, oh my goodness, they've got this thing. It's feeling like they're going to go to the Eastern Conference Finals. And now to find themselves behind the 8 ball, down 3-2. I think that's the real shocker, right? That it's not, when you go up 2-0 on the road against the reigning defendings, it's not that you expect it to be easy at that point, but to be thoroughly outclassed the way they were last night, Jensen, that is the athlete part of you. How do you get up off the deck when now everything's on the line for that potential Game 6 here if you're Toronto, and you got to win now in Florida, even to force a Game 7 back to Toronto?
Yeah, there's two schools of thought, right? One where you get on the road and it's just you and the team and you band together, us against the world. But I don't know the way that I guess I'd say this. You'd rather get blown out and it was like we had no chance.
Okay.
Then if it was close, overtime, you lose, you expend all the energy and then emotionally drained. That's one way to look at it.
Okay.
I don't. Your captain hasn't scored, you know, in what, 10 playoff games. You've got controversy with Mitch Marner, as Rachel talked about. You have a fan base who is just all over you, and Florida is just sitting there like, hey,
right,
we're just playing hockey here, you know. So I think it's over. I think Florida wins. By the way, good nuggets here from Jonathan Davis as it pertains to tonight's game. Night's games, I should say. Both of these closeout opportunities, 9 of the previous 12 closeout games have been decided by 2 or more goals. And 8 of the 12 have a combined 6 goals or more. So if you're looking for overs tonight, that could potentially be the way to go. I told you I'm already on the Jets puck line at plus 220. I do think that they get that thing back to Dallas, but I think Dallas ends up winning it. But at least for a night, I think Winnipeg stays alive.
And you mentioned for tomorrow night, Florida is a sizable favorite to get that done and wrap up that series against Toronto. 245 right now on the money line.
Yikes.
You want to play them on the puck line? How about that? Plus $1.14 on the puck line. So it looks like right now, and again, this is why you should check out the betting splits where the money's coming in. So when you become a VSiN Pro subscriber, you have access to all of these numbers that we're talking about here, not just from Circa behind me, but also from DraftKings. They're going to give you insight into where the sharp action is landing. Circa, of course, is known for taking bigger bets. DraftKings, kind of that broader market perspective out there. So you're going to get the real action, not just public money, but the kind of wagers that are going to move those lines. See the percentage of bets versus the percentage of handle on every game across every major sport. It's going to make you a better, that's for sure. So get VSiN's exclusive betting splits for as little as $9.99 for your first month at VSiN.com/subscribe. Let's get to our best bets. They are, of course, presented to us by GBank, the official bank of VSiN. And we do have the one NBA game tonight, Jensen. I know you got a number on that a day ago, and that was on the total. And that total has come down, 216.5. So you've already got some closing line value there. Nuggets also maybe taking a little bit of the money, knocking this down here to 4.5. We saw some 5s earlier in the day, but it's now down to 4.5. 5 here, still at Circa. What do you make of it? And what led you to that under early on in this one yesterday?
Yeah, some certain fatigue. We go back to Mile High, and also just knowing that the Thunder defensively in the last couple of fourth quarters has really put the screws to Denver's offense. So 218 I have in pocket. VSiN Pro subscribers had that at least 24 hours ago. Down to 216.5 here on DraftKings. I think it's at 216 at Circa. Just interesting the splits here, because you mentioned that 22% of the bets, 30% of the money on the under. Okay, and it's come down. So, people still trying to pile on the over here, but the number keeps coming down. So interesting little reverse line move right there. Also, you mentioned the 5 there at Circa. It is still at 4.5 also here for DraftKings. So it's something to factor in. But I do think the Thunder get it done. Probably won't be a spread play for me tonight. I'll just stay on the under.
Seems like a smarter move to do, because you got to think it's going to be tight. If it's close, possession is going to be at a premium in that fourth quarter. That game should slow down, you would think, if it's a tight game here. If it gets to a little bit ugly scenario, that's where you might extend with fouls. But I like where your head's at there. Got a better of the number now. That total down to 216. We do have a marquee matchup here in Major League Baseball that caught your attention today. What are you looking at here with the Stros and their new stud, who I think people are looking at and saying, maybe if you like Hunter Brown, maybe not just today against Jacob deGrom, but you could even look long-term prognosis maybe for a Cy Young.
And again, shout out Adam Burke, who highlighted Hunter Brown in the betting guide before the season. Believe he was upwards of 25-1 to win the American League Cy Young. He is now your third betting choice in the American League at plus 550 behind only Garrett Crochet and Tarek Skubal. Here's our handicap tonight in our Daily Diamond. Marcus Semien has been the one matchup that has been the bane of Hunter Brown's existence. 632 average. Wow. 12 for 19. Pretty good. Marcus Semien sees Hunter Brown well. We have 2 Daily Diamond plays for this game in particular. So Hunter Brown against Jacob deGrom. We like Hunter Brown 7 or more strikeouts, parlayed with the first 5 alternate under. 5.5 not available, but 4.5 was, Dave. So that parlay prices out to plus $1.72. We're also going to do a hit parlay between Semien and Adolis Garcia. That's at plus 152. So 2 good plus money plays there. We've been very fortunate last couple of days on those looks. So I think that continues. Really good marquee matchup tonight, deep in the heart of Texas. I
love that matchup. That should be a really good pitching matchup there that we see. So we're going to keep our eyes on that, as well as the PGA Championship. And I just want to bring this to your attention here. And again, throughout the network here, they're going to give you those live numbers as they move. We now have a 5-way tie for the lead at the first round of the PGA. Luke Donald is tied with Ryan Fox, Tommy Fleetwood, Matty Fitzpatrick, and our the 2 captains of this year's Ryder Cup team, Luke Donald for Europe and Keegan Bradley for good old US of A. They are part of that 5-way tie right now at 3 under par. And it's amazing. You've got some Englishmen up there, Fleetwood and Fitzpatrick. Of course, Fitzpatrick's already a major champion, having won at the US Open. So, I mean, it does feel like an early Ryder Cup feel here with the Englishmen getting off to great starts in this one. And Keegan Bradley, our captain here, also at 3 under par. The big guns that everybody's looking at here so far, of course, the big 3. They're underway right now. Number 1, 2, and 3 in the world. And right now, Scotty and Xander and Rory all scuffling a little bit. Even par for all 3 guys through 5 holes. It's early. But Jensen, this is amazing because, again, when you look at the numbers, we always talk about see if you can get 10-1s on those guys. They're drifting, but not that much. Scotty's still the betting favorite at 5-1. Rory at plus 550 as the screens jump around here. Jon Rahm is 2 under par. He's at 12-1. We talked about British Jesus. Tommy Fleetwood never won on American soil, let alone a major, 18-1. And Xander Schauffele has drifted back down now to 25-1. So it's early, Jensen, here in the first round of the PGA Championship. But that is interesting that the big 3, none of those guys making a move yet. Doesn't mean they won't. But the big moves right now seem like they're being made by all the Englishmen that are out there on the field.
Make it a 6-way tie now for top of the leaderboard. Nico Echevarria is also 3 under here. So really good movement. Keegan Bradley now all the way down to 30-1. If you want Captain America to jump in live on that one. If you would like that first round leader, Keegan Bradley, your top betting choice, 8-1, only one in single digits. So it's going to be a hell of a start here to round 1 of the PGA.
And our guy Thomas Dietrich made birdie. He's 1 under par. Just 2 off the lead there. By the way, if you have not gotten your GBank Visa signature card, do so today. Most credit cards are going to treat sportsbook and gaming transactions as cash advances. That's even when you put your own money in the card. So GBank's going to treat those gaming transactions as purchases. So you're going to save up to 3 to 5% on cash advance fees on gaming transactions right then and there. Also with GBank, you're going to earn 1% cashback rewards on all eligible sportsbook and gaming transactions and add 2% cashback rewards on all other eligible purchases. So apply now at VSiN.com/GBank. That's VSIN.com/GBank. Very quickly, Jensen, in the last minute that we have before we turn it over to Gil Alexander and Kelly Bidwin on a numbers game, we talked with Mike Palm about the futures market in the NFL. Are you going to wait to make some of those win total wagers? They are posted here at VSiN officially. Like when I hear people are betting the under in the Cowboys at 7.5, it makes me want to wait and see if the number comes down, at least if the juice comes down at all.
I would definitely love an under on the Browns win total.
Ooh.
If they don't beat the Bengals in week 1, I do not see a win for them before the bye.
It could be you might be seeing Shedeur Sanders after that bye. If you don't see him earlier. That'll be fascinating. Yeah. Jensen, great stuff. We'll do it all over again for round 2 of the PGA Championship and beyond, but don't go anywhere. We got a numbers game, money moves, and prop points all up for you next here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.